Hello, Tony Brooks Aviles here at my personal training studio, The Body House, 333 Sand Lane, Staten Island. I wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up on a previous blog post where I talked about exercise being a recipe. I had gone on about how many people believe that exercise is a volume-oriented or a voluminous event, where the belief is more is better. For instance, I talked about in the 80s and 90s and how we used to go to the gym and it was felt that you needed to do like at least 20 minutes of cardio in order to start burning fat, and fat burning started on the 20th minute, which is a fallacy, and how we would do an hour and 90 minutes on the Stairmaster, which I used to do and brag about it because I thought I was doing the right thing. But now modern science tells us very, very differently. So exercise is not a voluminous event. What I was saying before was that it's a recipe. It's using the right amount. So the same goes with intensity. Many people believe that the more outrageous the exercise, the more intense the exercise, the better. And once again, it's finding the right intensity. And even more so than that, finding the right intensity for you. Here at the Body House, with all of our exercise classes and even with our personal training, our object is to find where the client is and then act accordingly. So when people hear about boot camp, they say, well, this is going to be so difficult, it's going to be impossible for me to do. It's going to be too intense, which makes sense. People hear the word boot camp and they think about what? High intensity. So let's think about this. Intensity is relative. It is relative. The intensity for one person is going to be different of the intensity for another person, even if they're performing the same exercise. For instance, there may be someone who's really fit and they're performing regular push-ups, where they're using their toes as their pivot point. For someone, that may not be that intense. They need to put a clap in the middle. They may need to elevate, like do a plyo push-up, and they may need to do a push-up into a side plank or T-stance. That may be the proper intensity. You can take the same conventional push-up and have someone who is unfit. That push-up becomes too high of an intensity for them. So we have to adjust it by maybe making them put their knees on the floor, or even making them elevate their upper body by pushing off on a table or against the wall. That may be the proper intensity. So intensity is relative, and it's part of the recipe. Very, very important. It's part of the recipe. So not only do you need to have the right time, but you also have to have the correct intensity. That is part of the recipe. What we thought about before was, or what we were taught before, was that exercise programming had to do with the term FIT. F standing for frequency, how many times a day, how many times a week, Intensity, how challenging the exercise is. T for time, which is how long you're performing your exercise at any particular exercise session. And that was the means of figuring out how to put the exercises together. But now we're finding that in order to get proper results, that we don't have to be so much on the extreme. Why? Because intensity, volume or frequency, and time, which is part of the voluminous event, has to be tempered with recovery. We found that recovery is a much bigger part of the puzzle than we thought. So this all may be confusing to you, but not to worry, because you can always come and join us here at the Body House, and we put our exercise prescriptions together to make sure that each client gets exactly what they want to get out of their programming. So keep that in mind. Intensity is part of the recipe. Frequency, part of the recipe. Time, part of the recipe. And there's actually two other things. T is type. Fit now, instead of F-I-T, is really F-I-T-T-E. So the other T is type. What type of exercise? And then E stands for enjoyment. A big part of what we do here is we want to make sure our clients enjoy their time here at the Body House. So keep that in mind. If there's any way that we can assist you in achieving your fitness goals, please reach out to us, and we'd love to have you down here. So once again, I'll end this the way I always do by saying, always put your heart and soul in your goal.